Hey everyone, it's ENDYMION. Today I have a video that's a hybrid between some stuff going on with Dragon Age, as well as a new development confirming that the Sweet Baby discourse is now reaching new highs and that this fight is far from over. Beyond this, we have writers turning on BioWare and people proving time and again that they don't support the things that they champion. So, let's begin. Firstly, Dragon Age Veilguard is here. I'm now 16 hours into it, and according to what I've been told, I'm about halfway through the story. Which is, well, that's not good if that's the case. I recently got to the first major decision of the game, and I kid you not, this decision results in you either fighting a blue or a red dragon. And the entire big decision mission is just 10 minutes of gameplay, I'm not kidding. When the mission ended, I yelled, "That's it?" and I jump scared my girlfriend who was watching a Let's Play beside me. And my bad for yelling, but you gotta be kidding me, man. This game is more disappointing than my son. Anyways, there's more to go over. Firstly, some places are already turning against Veilguard like PC Gamer of all places, which usually supports and champions these very things oftentimes. In their article that's titled, "With the Veilguard, Dragon Age has forgotten its dark fantasy roots and become BioWare's Avengers." Sadly, this title is about the best way that I could describe this game to someone who hasn't played it. It really is as if Crystal Dynamics' Avengers game got made with a Dragon Age skin over top of it. Nothing feels dire, nobody takes anything seriously, and the identity politics are on full display. As I explained in my previous video, the game is littered with coded language and behavior that paints a picture that this game is designed to make you hate white males specifically without overtly saying it. Every villain that I've encountered so far, for the most part, is a white man. I just got Emmerich, the necromancer guy. And his mission ends teasing that his specific villain is a woman, but of course a white woman, because we can't have anyone who isn't white be the bad guy, I guess, in a modern AAA slop game. This coded behavior is tiring to say the least, and after playing Veilguard for 16 hours so far, my brain just kind of yearns for some good old-fashioned gaming. I played Castlevania Aria of Sorrow before this and 100%ed it, and I had a grand old time. And I can't wait to go play East Nordics once I'm done Veilguard to wash this out of my mouth and my brain too. This is a game that's made by people who clearly hate me, and it shows. And then Smash JT recently had an article on his website alongside a video too, and he was actually my source for the same topic that he brought up after I published my video. He was contacted by someone very prominent at BioWare on the issues within the game and the studio at large. I didn't say everything Smash told me, but I figured since his video is out now, I can properly convey more of what was told as well. Smash said this source told him that BioWare is in full pandering mode right now. They are genuinely not hiring anyone who doesn't fit their ideological structure as a studio. So this means if you identify as a straight man, you're immediately thrown aside in favor of someone who identifies as anything but that. It's gotten to a point within BioWare, at least, that they are no longer interested in hiring anyone who doesn't support and embrace their ideology 100% behind the scenes. It's pathetic, and it's really sad to see, but to be real with you, especially when people try to gaslight you into believing that talent and merit are not being overlooked in favor of DEI stuff, which they absolutely are, by the way. But what's extra interesting is Smash was told by this source that BioWare is currently a house of cards, and all it'll take is a fart in the wind to blow it all down at this point. The game is doing fine, but not good enough it seems. It peaked at around 77,000 players on Steam alone as of the making of this video. But we need to remember that this is a AAA game, not an indie one, and when you compare it to other previous AAA offerings within the RPG genre, Veilguard is doing abysmally bad in comparison. I mean, look at these numbers. Baldur's Gate 3 reached over 800,000 players in its peak on Steam alone. That's well over 8 times what Veilguard has achieved in a similar time frame. Even Dragon's Dogma 2. That peaked at over 200,000 players, and we need to realize that AAA games need to sell in the millions in order to justify their own existence. Couple this with the stark reality that Veilguard took BioWare close to 10 years to realize and make means this game easily needs to sell in the millions if it's going to be profitable. It is still too early to say if Veilguard will close BioWare, but if I had to guess, the game will do just well enough to maybe justify EA in allocating resources for one final push with the next Mass Effect. But if this is what BioWare was cooking with Dragon Age, I honestly shudder to think what they will do when Mass Effect comes around. Like that PC Gamer article said, Veilguard is Marvel's Avengers, except nobody wants that style of humor or tone anymore. It's a game that has completely shed its dark fantasy roots for purple menu screens and overtly colorful backdrops. Here's some of what PC Gamer said, and I quote, "When BioWare started working on Dragon Age the Veilguard, the world was in love with Marvel. We wanted more Avengers, more Bants, more Nick Fury recruiting superpowered heroes. This must have felt serendipitous to a studio which had for years been designing RPGs where players put together a wisecracking, good-looking squad to stop the world, and sometimes galaxy from imploding. Veilguard is BioWare's Avengers, fully leaning into the idea of a heroic team of powerhouses protecting everyone from the worst of the worst. Between bouts of exposition and lots of banter, of course, but unfortunately, it's now 2024. The Marvel formula has become exhausting. And BioWare's latest RPG, which I'm now around 3/4 of the way through, feels both perfunctory and behind the curve. Maybe we would have ended up here even without Marvel's huge influence on modern entertainment. While the series began as an exceptionally grim fantasy adventure in a grounded medieval world, Dragon Age has never been comfortable sitting still. Dragon Age 2 preserved much of the tone despite the switch to smaller stakes and a more focused setting. But Inquisition then put you in charge of a high fantasy version of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a game full of absurd takes and magical spectacle. But it also still felt like a Dragon Age game, a different style of Dragon Age game, sure, but one that still featured nuanced characters who pushed and questioned you. Set in a world that, for all its vibrant colors and flashy magic, still felt tragic and sorrowful. It served as an interesting counterpoint to Origins, where you played a hero or anti-hero trying to thwart a tyrant. As the Inquisitor, there was always a sense that you might become that tyrant yourself. In the Veilguard, however, Dragon Age's legacy is nearly invisible. The Veilguard sheds most of the series' nuance and darkness, fully committing to bloodless, broad high fantasy with the Marvel veneer, less Thetis and more Asgard. It's even got that gaudy Marvel color palette where everything glows and sears your retinas. It's all just so over the top, constantly trying to show off and elbow you, forcing you to look at one set piece after another. This perseveres even when the Veilguard impotently attempts to showcase some horror. When you explore a blight-infested village in an early section, the pulsating neon red cysts and gratuitous use of tentacles is so cartoonish that it's impossible to feel the revulsion that the story wants you to experience. The blight is ultimately left to just become a momentary obstacle, blocking paths until you destroy a bunch of connected nodes. It's just a mechanical nuisance that rears its head countless times throughout the game. The Veilguard even takes Marvel's sci-fi tinged approach to fantasy. Balara, your elven archer, swans around with a massive golden gauntlet that splices magic and tech, is a talented engineer, and is part of a mostly elvish organization which studies and perseveres ancient arcane technology. Even their name, the Veil Jumpers, feels like something drawn from a sci-fi comic, where previous games presented the elves as a race brought down by human colonialism, pushed to the fringes, and constantly struggling with racism. The Veilguard's elves are primarily represented by an organization of fancy magical scientists. Each companion can be effectively described with a couple of keywords. Okay, maybe I'm being unfair here, I could say the same about a lot of other BioWare companions. Liara, the naive scientist, Isabella, the horny pirate, Morrigan, the abrasive witch, but the problem with the Veilguard is that the keywords are both the start and end of most of these characters, like so much of the game's cast. From its villainous gods to its staid faction representatives, the companions rarely deviate from their broad archetypes. The Veilguard's cast largely just tells you their whole deal from the outset. Lucanus is literally an abomination, something that you might expect him to want to keep secret from his new friends. But you discover his nature before he utters a single word. He's an open book, and while his nature causes a wee bit of tension, it's mostly short-lived and extremely polite. Balara, meanwhile, spends maybe 10 seconds pretending that her backstory is too sad to talk about, before giving an entire monologue about her tragic past, why she does what she does, and what's motivating her to help you on your quest. Inquisition was already going in this direction. You're always being nudged towards heroism, but the Veilguard completely ties your hands for most of the game, and the lack of proper role-playing is so much more noticeable due to the other RPGs that have appeared in the interim. Pillars of Eternity, Tyranny, Pathfinder, Rogue Trader, Disco Elysium, Divinity Original Sin, Baldur's Gate 3, The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077. They've all felt like progress, leaving Dragon Age behind. End quote. That last part especially, I agree with this. It's a game that markets itself as being pro-player choice, but never really gives you any options to present yourself in an evil manner. At least in Mass Effect, you're able to be a renegade and basically be Space Punisher as you abuse, destroy, and blow up the galaxy to get your results. But here in Veilguard, it's not possible, and it's so laughably out of date when compared to games that are years old at this point. Some may say they're not fair comparisons, but they are. BioWare was the king of player choice games. Now they're more interested in giving you a baby's first RPG when their competition has ran past them with flying colors in the past. Like, Baldur's Gate 3 completely destroys Dragon Age Veilguard in every single way that there's no contest there to be had. Objectively speaking, Veilguard has less choice in its entirety so far that I have played than Baldur's Gate 3's world has had in the first 5 hours of that game that you play. I believe that players are smart enough that developers need to stop holding players' hands so tightly because we are sick of being coddled, and it's even worse when the puzzles in Veilguard are so simple, but the characters still go out of their way to explain the solutions before you've even had a chance to think about said solution because you just got there. This oversimplification of both gameplay, narrative, and game design is another big problem specifically in AAA gaming. It's the Horizon Zero Dawn effect, characters never shutting up and always telling you how to do things. There's never any show, only tell when it comes to games like this. They're not interested in allowing you to express yourself, because these devs simply don't think that you're smart enough to do anything on your own. Going from Baldur's Gate 3 to Veilguard is probably one of the biggest tonal shifts I've seen in gaming, because what BG3 was in conception, story, and tone was actually what people wanted from Dragon Age. A dark fantasy world that can be lit up with brevity, but the player must remain steadfast that regardless of the funny moments within it, that it's still a world that will kill you if you aren't careful enough. And you never feel like this in Veilguard. Death has no meaning, there's checkpoints everywhere, big green urns that drop potions to heal you like you're playing a platformer from the 90s. The game is, like PC Gamer put it, Dragon Age only in name, and the more I play it, the more sad I get doing it. And then, for example, you have this article from SciPost.com titled "New Research on Female Video Game Characters Uncovers a Surprising Twist." To save us both the time, I'm not going to read an entire article to you, but to paraphrase it, researchers set up the game Soul Calibur 6, and then they made custom characters ranging from very sexy and strong to more modern audience ugly female characters, if you will. They then got a bunch of women ages between 18 to 51 to play these games and be exposed to videos featuring these female characters in different cutscenes and so on. At the end of the study, it was found that the women surveyed overwhelmingly preferred playing as the sexualized, often strong depicted female characters over the uglier ones. The study concluded that despite women saying they don't like how women are sexualized in media, that ultimately they prefer those character archetypes over the more prudish, ugly, and less feminine depictions of women in media today. Too long didn't read version, even women want to play as sexy women over the slop that AAA is pushing these days. Veilguard, again, does away with curves and instead gives you plenty of female characters that all have very small bust sizes and negative-sized butts. But in BioWare's case, they truly believe that Veilguard is the sort of female representation that people want, but this is what they've put in the game instead, so please watch.
Everything alright?
We're fine. Just trading fashion tips. So what I wear is a problem for you?
It's not. It's just... why dress like that? Are you trying to make your mother happy?
Tosh, what's going on? Something is clearly bothering you.
My bet's on mothers and dresses.
It's just something my mother said the other day. That I act more like a man than a woman.
And you feel like you should wear dresses to make her happy?
No. Can you imagine me in a dress? I'd look stupider than I'd look stupid.
This isn't about the dress, is it?
No, it's... I don't know. She always says stuff like that. About how I dress, how I act.
And?
It feels... right. When she says I act more like a man. It feels... right. Why does it feel right?
Tosh, do you like being a woman?
Nobody likes being a woman.
Ah.
This is stupid. Forget I said anything.
Hey, it's not stupid. I do like being a woman, but if you don't, maybe that's something to think about.
But what does it mean?
Could be about your mother's expectations, or about how it feels to be a woman and Kunari. Or maybe it's being a woman, period.
How would knowing that help? It won't change anything.
Some of my friends in Minrathas talk about not feeling comfortable in their own skin. As a man, as a woman. I could see if they'd like to talk. Maybe what they say fits how you're feeling.
Yeah. Okay. And thanks. You do look really pretty.
Oh,
To look at, I'd smudge your makeup.
thanks for letting me down gently.
Well, isn't that some amazing modern dialogue in your fantasy world? Hey, unreal man that this got past QA testing. You've seen likely videos showing how even if you maximize the bust size in Veilguard, the women you can make have even smaller boobs than the average man does. It's all done deliberately to pander these character creators to the trans crowd. There is no point in denying it at this point. Because if a character is too feminine or too masculine, it will alienate the trans crowd, but all it ends up doing is making nobody feel seen 100%, instead giving everyone halfway representation and then everybody leaves unsatisfied. The men aren't jacked or manly enough, the women look like male-bodied with longer eyelashes, and it just all kinda sucks. It's pathetic that we've gone from Morrigan in Origins to the Morrigan in Veilguard, who also, unsurprisingly, had her boobs stolen between games too, it seems. I'm tired, dear viewer. I'm tired of political activism ruining everything I love because people are babies and want to be catered to. What's also just stupid is that the same kinds of people who always project that they want these games to do well, to own the chud so to speak, never actually buy these things either. We saw it with Dustborn, Suicide Squad, hell, Concord is dead, and that studio has now shut down last week for good. And even when it comes to Veilguard, the typical industry types still can't find the will to open their wallets and click buy on Steam or wherever else they play. Take Khalif Adams here, who works in the industry. Don't harass this person, but here's what he said on Twitter. How is Dragon Age on PC? I want to try it, but I need a code. This tweet is more frustrating to read than anything else, cause why are you such a stalwart defender of agenda, yet you openly admit that you didn't even buy Veilguard either? And instead, the only way you want to play it is that if you were given the game for free. I called Khalif out. I mean, he is a games industry person, and he said this in response. By the way, the game plays really well on PC, really well optimized, looks fantastic on a widescreen monitor. Are you playing it too? What are your thoughts? I know you've been making a ton of content around it, so it's possible that Khalif got his code. But again, this is what I'm saying. I don't mind if Khalif supports Dragon Age or any other game. That's his right as a consumer to do so. But come on, man, let's be real here. You can't be saying things in the industry are bad or that the games you want to succeed aren't succeeding if you're not willing to ever buy any of these games yourself. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe because despite doing YouTube and all of this, I still support games and I buy them with my own money. I don't even pirate movies or TV ever, like genuinely, I don't do that at all, because I know how important it is to support the things that you love. It's like voting, you know, if the person you don't like gets voted into power, but you never took the agency or time to go vote yourself, then you have no basis to complain about the outcome in my opinion, and it's the same thing with products. You can't yell at people for this game or that failing. If you are also never supporting these things to begin with, maybe I'm crazy. But I just think you should support the things that you love or you champion, and then when you're begging for free codes, that doesn't help your case either way. I should also probably dispel some other disingenuous stories while I'm at it too, so firstly, I saw a picture circling on Twitter where someone was claiming that Veilguard had over 200,000 refund requests on Steam. This is not true, and it is very disingenuous. That number is refund requests for Steam as a platform, so we're talking all games available on Steam have a combined total refund amount right now of 200,000 plus. Could some of that be Veilguard? Yes. It could also be Black Ops 6 or any other game being lumped into that sum too. But please don't go spreading rumors like this because it does nothing but hurt your credibility in the long run. Veilguard is not getting refunded akin to 3 or 4 times its entire concurrent player count on Steam. If it was, that's a big story, but no, it isn't. Secondly, I saw many websites running this story that Veilguard is BioWare's most successful and biggest launch on Steam ever, which people, of course, use this as ammo to say, look, it's doing well, suck it chuds, but again, it's also disingenuous. Because BioWare hasn't had a game launch day one unreleased on Steam ever besides Veilguard. Anthem launched on EA Origin. Mass Effect was the same way too. I guess you could argue Mass Effect Legendary Edition, but those are remasters of a decade-old series at this point coming to Steam, so not really the same. But as for an actual new game by BioWare day one, yes, Veilguard is their biggest because it's their one and only release that has come out day one on Steam. And like I said in my previous video, Inquisition on Steam is not a fair comparison either. That game came out in 2014, but didn't hit Steam until 2020. 6 years removed from your hype cycle is not a fair comparison to day one hype releases. I think we can all agree on that. But like I said, I'm being fair here, and I want to properly archive all of this on the channel so that the disinformation is controlled and not allowed to run rampant. So if anyone tells you that Veilguard is BioWare's biggest launch on Steam, would you kindly roundhouse kick them in the neck with actual facts on my behalf? Thank you very much. Alright, enough about Dragon Ball Veilguard. God damn it. Dragon Age. Can you tell I'm tired? I'm keeping that in the video. I don't care. Anyway, before we move on from Dragon Age in this video, let's just subject you guys to some more mental anguish, shall we? So please watch this too.
Thank you.
So, I'm non-binary.
What does that mean?
It means I don't feel like a man or a woman.
If you are neither a man nor a woman, then what are you?
Non-binary. I just said, and I'm going to use they instead of she from now on.
This is because I have criticized your dress or your manners.
It isn't!
Under the Q, the term for one whose gender does not match the one given to them at birth was a Cunithlock. Perhaps you are like that.
Why do you have to keep picking at it? Why can't you just be happy for me?
Evatash, Chakra Toebra.
So I'm who I am? Even if I don't feel like I fit, even if I feel wrong?
No, you misunderstood. I will go. Thank you for inviting me to your home.
Okay, now let's look at Sweet Bing Bong Baby to finish this video up. So we all don't like the Stinky Baby. Not only because they smell bad, but because they tend to ruin everything they touch. Kind of like French people. That's a joke, by the way. Sort of like the French in warfare. Anyway, Sweet Baby is teaming up with another company to spread their nasty across the wider net. This is from that Park Place. Sweet Baby Inc. partners with the Powell Group to push its woke agenda. Master of the TDS over at his Gothic Therapy channel exposed this in their latest video. I'll link that video in the description if you want to watch it if you'd like to. Anyway, the gist here is that Sweet Baby is teaming up with the Powell Group, no, not that Powell, to bring sensitivity training and pandering nonsense to every facet of development going forward. The Powell Group said in a statement via LinkedIn, "We believe you need diverse voices to solve diverse problems. Together with our partners at Sweet Baby Inc., we provide sensitivity and authenticity consulting at every stage of development. We connect you to an inclusive and knowledgeable team of consultants to best bring your story to life. Our approach leads with the creation of joyful and authentic experiences. We seek to be additive, not just corrective. Reach a bigger audience. We believe that representation is key to connecting players and audiences, appeal to a wider reach of players with more inclusive storytelling. Tell new stories. We tackle narrative and character in any form, keeping emotional resonance and authenticity at the heart of our work. Represent empathetically. We seek to spark joy in marginalized players, elevate real human experiences, and foster empathy within your game. Connect with our team of experts today." Experts, thanks. I needed a good laugh. So yeah, Sweet Stinky Baby is now doubling down on their efforts going forward. And they have no desire to back down from delivering you the greatest consulting the gaming world has ever seen by ruining all of your favorite games and making all the characters you love stupid or worse. It's incredible that this company would openly support and push SBI like this, because being so brazen like the Powell Group is doing is not going to end very well for them. You frankly are just making it easier to know which games are SBI aligned and which aren't. I don't think this will go well for them, but I did want to bring it to people's attentions that despite all the backlash and failure tied to SBI this year alone, that instead of rethinking that just maybe people don't want this in games, they're instead doubling or even tripling down in this case to tell everyone who rejects them that they're going nowhere. So good luck to you, SBI, but none of this is going to work for you. I hope you know that. But that's what I got for you today. Hopefully this is a shorter video than my previous one, because my previous video, that was a nightmare to edit. But let me know what you think as always. Do you think Sweet Baby's agenda being pushed like this will work in their favor or not? Do you want more current day in games, or do these things make you reject games that do this sort of stuff on principle alone? What about gaming industry people not supporting the games they claim to champion? Let me know in the comments. Okay, I'm done. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, have a wonderful day. Thanks to my supporters, and I'll see you in the next one. And now, I go back to Dragon Age, and the next quest I have, yep, I gotta get the non-binary Kunari. I can't speak anymore. Whatever, I'll see you guys in the next one.